Kayaking to me is more than just a sport.
Kayaking is my great passion. When I'm sitting in my kayak, I forget everything around me.
Often we get to see parts of the world that I would say no one has ever seen.
When I'm kayaking, I live, and the time in between serves as preparation for living.
I'm Jared Meehan. I'm 27 years old from New Zealand. I'm a kayaker, photographer and videographer. I'm a member of the Sickline kayak team and we travel the world kayaking.
I'm Olaf Obsommer, 39 years old from Germany. With my camera, I document the adventures of the Sickline team.
So I started kayaking when I was 13 years old at Tauranga Boys College at my high school. And there wasn't really a point in time when I decided that I wanted to centre my life around it. It was more just a natural progression. When you enjoy something that much, you're just going to carry on doing it and take it to the highest level you can. The best part about my sport for me is actually the travelling side of it, which has meant I've been able to travel to some unique locations around the globe and see them from a different perspective than any normal traveller would ever get to see.
I grew up in a kayaking family. My parents were passionate kayakers, and I inherited their passion. One could say I was born in a kayak. I live my dream, which is kayaking. This dream has become reality and is now my job. In the beginning, I was very focused on athletic kayaking, adrenaline, and mastering extreme difficulties. Meanwhile, kayaking is my work, and my focus has shifted a bit. I mainly operate as a cameraman and can no longer concentrate as much on extreme white water. Kayakers refer to the river god as the perfect whitewater creek with clean lines embedded in stunning scenery. To find these river gods, the Adidas Sickline kayak team travels the world. One of their most memorable trips takes the team to Greenland, the birthplace of kayaking. In search for the perfect stream that is fun, challenging, and spectacular, surrounded by breathtaking nature, where dangers are kept within a limit, the Sickline team explores the Arctic. Our kayaking adventure in Greenland was the highlight of my kayaking career to date. Kayaking has its seeds in Greenland. 4,000 years ago, the Inuits invented the kayak, not as a piece of sports equipment to amuse themselves, but to go hunting and as a means of transport. The kayaking tradition is very much cultivated in Greenland. Each year, the National Kayak Championships take place, a traditional competition with various disciplines. The highlight is certainly Greenland's Eskimo Roll Championship, where athletes must present as many techniques as possible. And there are about 30 different techniques.
We were in Greenland for 4 weeks in total, so it meant we had plenty of time when we were off the river to really get to know a few of the locals and have a look around their village and share some meals with them.
Das größte Problem in Grönland
Our biggest challenge in Greenland was to get to the whitewater rivers.
hinzukommen.
Therefore, we decided to cover the distance by motorboat.
Motorbooten die Strecken zurückzulegen, haben halt Fische.
We asked the fishermen and hunters if they could give us a lift to the fjord in which the respective river ends.
Einmündet.
So one of the obstacles that we faced in Greenland on the way to one of our rivers that we were paddling was we got trapped in the pack ice on our boat when we were trying to get up the fjord, and we actually spent three days on the pack ice, which was quite an adventure in itself. We started off trying to pull our boat over the icebergs and through the ice, but we realised that we weren't going to get anywhere very fast, so we pitched tent on the ice and stayed there for a few days and waited till help could come to us, which took a little longer than we would have liked. We were on the pack ice for 3 days in total. And the first 2 days we were out there, it was raining and snowing and pretty horrible weather. But on the third morning, we woke up on the pack ice. It was absolutely beautiful morning. The sun was shining. There was no wind at all. And just sitting out there and having a look around and breathing in that cold, fresh air was a pretty emotional time for me, and it was a really special experience.
Finally, help is coming. A little fisher boat maneuvers through the pack ice and takes the kayakers to the fjord.
Das Kajak ist für uns
For us, the kayak is not only sports equipment, but also a backpack and a means of transport in which we carry our entire stuff.
Rüstung transportieren. In Grönland zum Beispiel
In Greenland, for instance, we stowed our food and gear for the planned 10 days in the wilderness in our kayaks, plus the camera equipment.
unterm Strich
All in all, we usually carry between 40 and 50 kilos over hill and dale.
tragen.
It was pretty difficult to get into the river. I mean, we spent 3 days hiking, a good 3 days in the boat trying to get to the point where we could start hiking. And all the while, it was beautiful scenery and we enjoyed it. It was tough work. And I think the price we paid getting there and the pain we undertook to get into the top of the river made that kayaking just that little bit better.
Auf solchen
On such expeditions, our food usually consists of freeze-dried meals. That means you have an aluminium bag that you cut open, fill with hot water, and ready is your gourmet dish. Of course, we are always happy when we can get our hands on real food in the Greenland that was fish.
erschließen können. Und in Grönland war das zum Beispiel Angeln.
Fishing was quite a bonus on the trip to Greenland. I mean, I've always enjoyed fishing my whole life, and being able to catch fish that easily in these rivers that we're paddling. For one, it was good to eat fresh fish when we could. It was a good change from the dried packet meals that we had to eat. We'd been told about the mosquitoes in Greenland before we arrived, but nothing can really prepare you for the massive amount of mosquitoes that were there. I mean, it was crazy. We were wearing mosquito hats, but they would crawl on the inside, get inside your mosquito hat, they'd crawl up the sleeves of your jackets. They were absolutely everywhere.
Their next trip takes the sick line team to a much warmer region, the Indonesian island of Sumatra in Southeast Asia, the 6th largest island in the world.
In Sumatra, we were lucky enough to visit some of the beautiful beaches there and do a little bit of surfing. We only had our river kayaks, so they weren't that well suited to the surf, but we still got out there and gave it a go, and it was a nice change from the inland rivers that we're so used to. I'd been to Sumatra twice before in the past, and I knew that it was going to be a good location for kayaking. So for this trip, going back with Olaf and a few of the other team members, we arrived and the rainy season was a little bit longer than expected, so the rivers were definitely still high. Some of them were really massive.
In Sumatra,
it was also a challenge to get to the rivers. And so we used all sorts of interesting vehicles.
dafür nutzen können.
I mean, we basically have to use any means possible, any sort of cars that we can get hold of. Sometimes we find ourselves in the backs of trucks, riding motorbikes, in boats, whatever's available and whatever works really. A lot of the time we're travelling to countries that are remote and pretty well off the beaten track. Not many tourists have really been to a lot of these locations we're going to, which means that the locals are a little bit more open with us, and they're pretty interested to see what we're here for and what we're all about. I think that definitely helps us when we're going to these countries, because the locals are willing to lend a hand, and they don't want to, turn their backs to us straight away.
Sumatra war für uns auch gleichzeitig.
Sumatra was like visiting a zoo.
Dort konnten
We could see all kinds of animals that you could only see in the zoo at home, like orangutans and snakes.
So while we're paddling these rivers in Sumatra, a lot of the time we'd have to get out of our kayaks and walk through the jungle, and it was a little bit of a scary experience for all of us, walking through sort of the unknown jungle where we knew there was snakes and all sorts of creepy crawlies and animals that, we'd heard of, but we didn't really know how dangerous they were.
in Sumatra
In Sumatra, we were lucky to find a so-called river god.
Flussgott zu finden.
That was the Asian River, an affluent of Lake Toba, the world's largest volcanic lake. There we found an absolutely unique whitewater that none of us had ever experienced anywhere before.
Erlebt hat. Für mich war das
Paddling the Asahan River in Sumatra was a moment of perfection to me.
vom Gefühl her, es war einfach
It was overwhelming joy.
Spaß an den
Fun with the massive water, the jungle surrounding us. All the scenic attractions and impressions made this experience so extraordinary for us.
so schönen Erlebnis gemacht für uns.
From Southeast Asia to South America, in Chile on the west side of the Andes Mountains, the extreme kayakers want to conquer high waterfalls.
All of these trips we go on are different. They have a different sort of structure, and sometimes we're going to countries where it's a big expedition just to get into the river, you know. Sometimes we're going to a country where the logistics are good and we can drive everywhere, we can drive straight to the rivers.
Für uns Kajakfahrer,
For us kayakers, Chile is the kingdom of waterfalls. The reason being that it's so easy to consume. There's good infrastructure, they have roads, hospitals, a mountain rescue,
also, es gibt eine Bergrettung.
and therefore you travel to Chile to test your personal limits.
Um sein persönliches Für einen unbeteiligten Betrachter
To an uninvolved spectator, kayaking must seem pretty crazy, as if we were all weary of life.
Aber wir Kajakfahrer reden schon von kalkuliert.
But we kayakers talk about a calculated risk. That means we carefully plan and observe how we want to ride a waterfall.
Wie man einen Wasserfall befahren möchte.
At the back of the beyond in the Islamic Republic of Pakistan, the sixth most populous country in the world, the extreme kayakers seek a very special challenge.
We naturally like exploring new areas if we can. While we want to go and explore new places, it works well with the fact that we are trying to sort of show something new to people, and that's what they want to see.
Es gibt in der Welt eigentlich nur ganz wenige.
There are very few major rivers in the world that haven't been conquered by kayakers yet, and one of them is the Indus in Pakistan, the so-called Rondo Gorge.
Und zwar die Rondo-Schlucht. Dort hatten sich schon einige Expeditionen
Previous expeditions all failed,
versucht. Dann sind wir halt auf
so we traveled to Pakistan to conquer the Rondo Gorge.
Rondo-Schlucht zu bezwingen. Eines der letzten großen, kann man sagen,
One of the last great alpine challenges in whitewater kayaking.
Wildwassersport. Wir haben es dann auch nicht geschafft, die
We also did manage the Rondo Gorge. There was simply too much water, and it was impossible to carry on paddling through these masses of white water without surely losing your life.
dabei ziemlich sicher sein Leben zu verlieren. Deswegen hatten wir dann
And that's why we quit.
Es ist natürlich auch schön, wenn man seine
Of course, it's always nice when you can pass on your passion, especially to younger people. That's why we donated our entire kayaking gear to a Pakistani charity organization, which now goes kayaking with teenagers and children.
Kajakfahren geht.
And so we hope that a spark of our passion will ignite some enthusiasm in these young people. The next expedition takes the Adidas Sickline team into the heart of Siberia, to the eastern Sayan Mountains. This rugged but picturesque area is close to the Baikal Lake, the biggest lake on Earth.
Diese Expedition haben wir genannt.
We call this expedition Into the Unknown because we weren't sure how these 16 days would evolve and if we were prepared well enough.
Verhalten werden, ob wir dafür auch wirklich gut genug vorbereitet sind.
To be entirely independent and self-sustaining for 16 days was a new logistic challenge for us all.
Neue logistische Herausforderungen.
We didn't know a lot about it for a start. We tried to research as much as possible, and at the end of the day we were going to a part of the world that we didn't know a lot about.
Für diese 16 Tage hatten wir natürlich.
Of course, we only brought minimum gear for these 16 days because the main part of our equipment was food.
Bestand aus Nahrungsmitteln und so natürlich bei
So we really limited our clothing, and it was interesting to see how little you could actually get by
man
on.
eigentlich auch auskommen kann.
We got into a similar sort of situation as we did in Greenland. We ended up in the middle of a snowstorm in Siberia, and of course we were prepared for the summer, but I guess at the end of the day we were lucky we had all our gear, which is pretty thick jackets and thick pants, so we managed to stay warm. We lit some fires, and we bumped into some hunters out there who gave us some fresh deer meat that they'd just shot. And we got through, after 3 days, we got through that snowstorm and the weather cleared.
In Sibirien hatten wir uns überlegt, das Ganze mal.
In Siberia, we wanted to do things differently, meaning we wanted to move solely unaided.
Das heißt natürlich das Paddeln.
Of course, we always paddled by our own strength, but this time we also wanted to move by foot to the respective rivers.
Fuß erarbeitet,
And so we paddled the main river Quito
gepaddelt und alle Zuflüsse
and hiked up all feeder rivers from their mouth as far as we could get or considered it reasonable.
konnten oder für sinnvoll erhalten haben.
A lot of the time, I mean, we're walking a marathon just to get into the rivers with our packs on our backs. We're limited by how much we can carry on our back. We make sure we don't take too much gear, and if it comes down to it, we're weighing everything and making sure that we split it up evenly amongst the whole group.
The arduous hikes pay off. Siberia turns out to be a true kayaking paradise.
Uns hat auch sehr die Qualität des
We were very impressed by the whitewater quality in Russia. There were awesome rapids, perfectly shaped waterfalls, and so many manageable difficulties that we could
es
paddle.
ist viele fahrbare Schwierigkeiten, die wir paddeln konnten.
For this reason, we would really like to return to Siberia.
Wieder nach Sibirien reisen möchten.
There are many more river gods in the world to discover. The Adidas Sickline team will search for more.